Hey everyone, this is Angie with Angie's Adventures. Come on in. I'm going to be doing a book review today, or several book reviews. I'm going to go through all the books that I read during the month of September and give you a little synopsis and give you what my rating was on the book in case you might want to read it. I'm going to try not to give you too many spoilers that would spoil it for you if you read it yourself, but just to tell you a little bit about what the book is about in case it sounds interesting to you and you might want to read it. Okay, the very first book that I read during the month of September was The Lost Apothecary. First of all, I love the cover on this book. I just love the colors, the apothecary bottle. This is a historical fiction. This was a paperback, and it was a little over 300 pages, like 315 pages. So it wasn't a tremendously long book. Basically, this story follows two women, and there are two different timelines. The first timeline is set in the late 1700s, 1791, I think, and it follows Nella, who is an apothecary. She is carrying on her family tradition. Her mother was an apothecary. However, she is a little bit different type of apothecary because what she does is she will sell you a herbal potion, extract, whatever you want to call it, but it's a poison. And she only sells to women, and she only sells to women who want to kill men, primarily their husbands, their lovers, their brothers, their father, whoever in their life has done them some sort of wrong. She will sell you poison to kill them. So it follows that timeline, and then it follows a woman in present day timeline called Caroline. Caroline is actually the book is set, the setting is London, England, and Caroline, however, is American, and she is in London present day because she and her husband were supposed to be on a 10-year anniversary vacation. They were supposed to be celebrating their 10-year anniversary. She ends up going by herself because right before they get ready to leave to go on their vacation, she finds out that her husband has been having an affair. So she goes on the vacation by herself, and then her story will start to intertwine with Nella's story from 1791. And I'm not going to tell you much more than that because then it would be giving the storyline away. But this actually was a great book. I gave it a 5-star rating. Out of 5, I gave it a 5. I would highly recommend this book, especially if you like historical fiction. Okay, so I read that one. That one only took me 3 or 4 days to read. And then the second book that I read during the month of September was the book that we chose here in Angie's Adventures for our online book club that I started back in August. So we have read a book in August that was a mystery crime thriller by John Grisham. And then in September, our book choice or our genre was romance. And our book choice was The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, Niffenegger. And we're going to do a discussion on this book next week on Tuesday, October the 8th, in a Zoom meeting for those of you who read the book. I have the information posted in the group how you can join the Zoom meeting with the passcode or with the meeting ID and the passcode to join us at 8 o'clock. It will be, we're limited to 30 minutes on my Zoom account, so it will be no longer than that. So if you've read the book, you're welcome to join us, or even if you haven't read the book, you're welcome to join us because you may discover that you want to read it. This book, as I said, is a romance. I will tell you that this book, for me, it came recommended from one of my fellow Whatnot sellers, Jen with Dragon Lore Emporium. And so I bought the book, and then we decided to read it in the book club. But it was a little challenging to read. I will share that with you. In fact, one of our book club members, Deborah, who goes to church with me, she actually, I had 2 copies of the book, and she ended up getting a copy from me. I dropped it by her house one weekend when Johnny and I were on the way to the beach, but she didn't finish it. She DNF'd it because it was just, she couldn't get into it. She said she read about 70 pages or so. The reason that this book can be challenging is the name of the book is The Time Traveler's Wife. And it has different timelines. It time hops. And that is how the entire book is. Each chapter will be a different year and a different place. So you do have to get used to that. Each chapter starts out and gives you a date, and it will tell you, so it follows 2 people. Henry is the man who is the time traveler, and this is a genetic disorder for him. And then his wife is Claire. I think that's her name. Yes, Claire. So Henry and Claire are the 2 main characters, and they are basically, the whole book revolves around them. But as I said, I'm going to reserve any more comments about it until we have our Zoom meeting. But I gave this a 3.5 star. That was my star rating on that one. Okay, the next book that I read was for another book club that I'm in on Discord with some of my fellow Whatnot sellers and Whatnot buyers. And I did not vote for this book. It wasn't my choice for that month's book choice, but I bought it. I actually bought this one off Pango. So Pango Books is a great place to buy pre-owned books at relatively pretty cheap prices. So I ordered this one off Pango, got it in, and started it after I finished The Time Traveler's Wife. And, you know, I was trying to keep an open mind about it. It was called A Secret History of Witches. I am not now I like horror and paranormal and that sort of thing. But first of all, I don't believe in witches, and it's not part of my Christian faith. So I went into this with, I was a little bit skeptical about reading it, but I am going to just tell you that I enjoyed this book. I mean, it's a fictional book, and it follows 5 different women who are witches, and it's a lineage. So it starts out with like the great-great-grandmother and then goes down the line. And it starts out in, let me see what year it is, 1821. And then it brings the last witch actually brings you through like World War II era. So if you like books about witches, or just a historical fiction, I'm not sure that it would be a historical fiction. I guess it would be more of a fantasy book. But it was actually good. And it surprised me how much I did enjoy reading this book. It was funny at times. It talks about the women. The witches, of course, are women. And it talks about their lives with their other family members and their husbands. and how their husbands have to accept the fact that they are powerful and strong women. So anyway, there were parts of it that were very, very funny. And so I ended up actually enjoying this book, even though it wasn't my choice and I didn't vote for it for our book club. As far as a star rating, I would give it a 4. Just because of the subject matter. Like I said, I think it was well written. It was funny, and I would recommend the book, but I didn't give it a 5-star just because, like I said, I don't believe in witches, so the subject matter of it was the detractor for me. Okay, then I read It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This was the number 2 choice when we were choosing our book club choice for the month of September. And The Time Traveler's Wife won, but It Ends With Us came in second. So there were several of you that did want to read this book. This is actually in the movie theaters right now. The movie that was based on this book, Colleen Hoover is the author. It Ends With Us. This is a romance, and this is more of a contemporary romance. Now, I will tell you that this book does have some bad language and subject matter. So it has some steamy scenes as far as sexual scenes in it, and it does have some bad language in it. So some people might be offended or triggered by that. But otherwise, it is a romance. And without telling you too much about the book, especially if you want to go see the movie. I have not seen the movie. I would love to go see the movie, but I have not seen it. But now that I've read the book, I'm ready to go. It follows the life of Lily Bloom, and that is her name in the book, Lily Bloom, and how she meets and falls in love with a doctor, and let me see if I can remember what his name is, Ryle. And this follows their love story and their romance, and it's called It Ends With Us. Without spoiling it too much, it does have some domestic violence issues in it. Then the sequel to that book, so evidently Colleen Hoover, when she wrote this book, it was published, I think it was 2021. Let me see. No, 2016. And so evidently her fans kept, after her and saying, we need a sequel to this book. We need a sequel to this book. And so she did write a sequel to the book, and the name of it is It Starts With Us. And you would think they would be backwards, but It Ends With Us is the first book, and It Starts With Us is the second book. And these were both paperbacks, so I read them fairly quickly. But It Starts With Us was published in 2022. So it's a more recent book than It Ends With Us. But however, It Ends With Us is the one that the current movie that is out is based on. Now, other than the language and some of the steamy scenes in this, which I'm not into that at all. I mean, other than that, I thought they were well-written books. They were very easy story, very easy to read, read very quickly. And so I would have to say that I would give them a 4-star rating. Subject matter, once again, would be what would detract it from me from giving it a 5-star rating. But overall, the story, the writing, it was easy to read, and I think it was a great storyline. So that brings us up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the 6th physical book that I read was The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. Now this is in a series. The first book in the series is called The Thursday Murder Club. And I did have that book in my Whatnot store because I read it and then I put it up for sale, but I think I sold it, or I would show you that. And so if you haven't heard anything about the Thursday Murder Club, I encourage you to read it. If you like a mystery book, and this is it's just a cute, fun storyline. So the Thursday Murder Club, which is the first book in the series, is about 4 senior citizens. They are all in their 70s. They all live in a retirement village in England. So Richard Osman is an English author, and so his books are set in England. And they live in this upscale retirement village, and they all had great careers in their working past when they were of working age. They're very likable characters. It's 2 women and 2 men. And the reason the book is called The Thursday Murder Club is because they meet on Thursdays and they discuss cold case murder files. And they're all very smart, very intelligent people, and they want to keep their skills active. One of the women in this group of 4 friends is a ex-MI6 agent with the British Secret Service. One of the other woman is a nurse, is a retired nurse. Of the 2 men, one of the men is a retired psychiatrist, and the 4th person in the group, the other gentleman, is a retired labor union worker or advocate. He was very active in politics and that sort of thing. But they solve murders. And so the Thursday Murder Club was the first book. There's 4 books in the series. And The Man Who Died Twice is the second book. So this was the 6th book that I read. This was a hardcover, and it was about 370 pages or 350, something like that. And I think I finished this one Saturday or Sunday. And so that was the book. Yeah. So all of the Thursday Murder Club books for me are 5-star reads. They are just, the characters are very lovable, likable. You get to know them in the first book, and then they continue on and solve more murders in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th book. And I finished this one on Sunday, and this one technically wasn't a September book, but the 3rd book is called The Bullet That Missed. And then book number 4 is called The Last Devil to Die, which that will be the next one that I read. I just finished this one yesterday. It was so good when I finished this one on Saturday or Sunday. I immediately went ahead and picked up the next one and started it. And I read this one in 2 or 3 days, 2 days or 3 days. But I just finished it yesterday. So technically it was not a September read. I did the other 2 books that I read. So those were the physical books that I read, but I listened to and read 2 audiobooks. And so that's really how I was able to get the total of 8 for the month. I did 6 physical books and then listened to 2 audiobooks. So I don't have those books physically in my hand to show you, but the first one that I read was The Silent Patient by Alex, I'm going to slaughter his last name, Michaelides. It is a psychological thriller. It is set in England, and it is about a woman who murders her husband, And then after she murders her husband, she doesn't speak anymore. She will not say anything to anyone. And so therefore she is put into a mental institution, and you kind of pick up from there and how this psychotherapist joins the employment of this facility that she is in because he wants to try to help her. And she becomes his patient, and once again, she doesn't speak. And the book is about how he relates to her and tries to get her to open up to him and tell him why she killed her husband. And that's all I'm going to tell you without spoiling it. But it is a psychological thriller, and I would rate that book as a 4. A 4. It was good. I would recommend it. And then the last audio book that I read, I had it written down on a piece of paper, and I don't know what I did with the piece of paper. But so I want to make sure I get the name right. But it was also a psychological mystery thriller, and the name of that book was None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. And it is a story about 2 women. It's also set in England. 2 women who are both 45 years old. The storyline opens that they are in a restaurant together. They are both celebrating their birthday. And they find out that not only do they share the same day of their birthday, but they share the same year, and they were born in the same hospital. And so they are literally birthday twins. And one of them is a podcaster, and the other woman, the other character in the book, inserts herself into this woman's life who is famous and rich, and she is not. The other lady is not. And she gets her to do a podcast about them being birthday twins. And she wants to tell her story of her life and how she is about to change it. And so that is the kicker. And therefore, then it sets up the story for the book, the rest of the book, and how she changes her life. This one was pretty good. I would probably rate it a 4.5 stars. So I would recommend it as well if you like mystery thrillers. And so the name of it, once again, is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. And so that brought me to a total of 8 books, 6 physical books and 2 audiobooks. And I was not that familiar with audiobooks, but I did find out that if you have a library card, you can use an app called Libby, and you can listen to audiobooks for free. Of course, there's all kinds of websites and apps that you can use to listen to audiobooks. The app Audible, there's many out there. But if you have a library card with your local library, you can use Libby. And that's what I have been using. And you just basically check out the audiobook just like you would a book. Some of them, you can check it out for 14 days, some of them for 21. And of course, there's different lengths of listening time. I have heard other booktubers, people who go on YouTube and do book reviews and talk about the book trends and that sort of thing, that say that they will speed it up sometimes and listen to it at like 1.5 times the speed so that they can listen to it a little faster. I haven't done that yet. I think the first book, The Silent Patient, I think that was about 10 hours on audio. I think that's right. It was about 10. And then this last book was a little over 8. It was between 8 and 9 hours. So anyway, those are the 8 books that I read during the month of September. My go-to genre is mystery, thriller, psychological thriller. I also like historical fiction. I'm a huge fan of historical fiction as well. Not a true, big fan of romance, although I did read those couple. And I have read some fantasy books as well, but my go-to genre is mystery, thriller, and historical fiction. So that's probably what you're going to hear me talk about the most in my books and my book reviews. But I just encourage you to, if you are not currently reading, get off that Netflix, get off the computer, get off your phone, or stop watching television, and take an hour a night and just set aside to read a book. It really will open your mind up. You will learn a lot, and it is a great experience what you can find between the pages of a book. And just one more note about this Thursday Murder Club series. Netflix actually is going to be putting out, they just finished filming it just a couple of weeks ago. The Thursday Murder Club movie is going to be aired. It's going to be a Netflix exclusive movie that comes out next year, but they just finished filming it and I cannot wait. Pierce Brosnan is one of the actors in it. Helen Mirren is one of the actresses in it. I can't remember the name of the other two, but it is a group of 4 friends who are in their 70s, and everything that I have read in these 3 books, I've got one more in the series to read, has been great, and I would highly recommend that. All right, guys, I'm at 26 minutes, almost 27. That's a little bit of a long video, so I hope you have watched it to the end. And I hope you guys have a great night. And for those of you who would like to join us, please check out the page for the Zoom meeting for next Tuesday, October the 8th, when we discuss in detail The Time Traveler's Wife. All right, you guys have a great night. See you later.